Cool team, welcome back. Microsoft Flight Simulator 24 on the PS5. This is my tips and tricks, things that you might want to know, little guides, little bits of help or clarification. And if you are enjoying these, and it looks like a lot of you are, don't forget to hit that like. Do not forget to subscribe. Stay tuned. There is likely to be more. Right, this is a follow-on for missions. So I did missions before. I did missions number 1 a while ago, which just covered the basics. If you're starting out, you just want to know how to get around the missions board and some things to think about. I want to cover a few more sort of in-depth things for you people that have been playing for a few hundred hours now, and you want to get a better idea, or you want to understand more about selecting some things because of particular goals you would like to pursue. So let's have a look at those things, shall we? So some of the things I've covered obviously is up in the top right. If you use the right stick, you can change the time of the day or the night using the live function. If you have the live function enabled, that's fine. That's relatively simple and straightforward. Up in the top left, you have the differences between the employee jobs that you can do and the freelancer jobs that you can do. We're going to talk a little bit about those in particular in a sec. And obviously you've got zoom in and zoom out and everything else. And down in the bottom, if you use the square function, you have these little three things here. You can fiddle around with some of the things that appear on the legends on the map, which is fine. You can fiddle around with how the map is displayed to you, which is fine. And you can fiddle around with some other filters, POIs, various other bits and pieces and thing. Nothing strange or startling isn't going to change your life. Now then, if we go to our missions, here I am over Central Europe. You can see Gay Paris and Rome, London, Bucharest, Berlin. So we're having a look at all of the missions that are available, and depending on how far you are, it depends on how many you can see. And as you zoom in, there's more and more and more and more and more and more and more, which is great. It means there's lots and lots of things to do. How do you know what to do? What do you want to do? What are you looking for to do? Rather than being facing this massive conglomerate of missions, going, oh, I have no idea what I'm doing. Well, if you hit triangle and you go to the missions tab, obviously in here there are all the missions that are currently available for us to see within the window that we are looking at, and we can go and have a look at those individually, and I'll have a chat about some of those in a minute. And obviously if you highlight the filters, and just using the D-pad, you can choose what you want to do. There is the specializations. Now, this is all the specializations that you will have unlocked through your career. I will bear in mind that there are some here that I haven't unlocked and some that will not unlock. So, aerial construction and agricultural aviation rotorcraft, they will unlock when I have finished doing what I need to do, I do believe, as will search and rescue hoist. Neither cargo transport heavy nor cargo transport super heavy will unlock at all. There are currently no in-game missions for cargo transport heavy, and you can't unlock cargo transport super heavy without doing cargo transport heavy. So even if you've got the cargo transport heavy specialization, you still cannot do this as a mission type. You can go and fly heavy cargo transport vehicles in free flight mode, but you cannot do these missions. So that's out of order, so you will not be doing that. So just be aware of that if you are looking through that. Now, if you're going through here, you can pick whichever of these particular mission types that you want to do. You want to particularly have a look at let's say something that's actually here, like agricultural aviation with the airplane. There's a lot of those missions available. You could go off and do some of those if you wanted. That lets you declutter your map and focus on those missions and so forth. If we collapse that menu, you can go down to difficulty. It's fairly straightforward. If you select this one, it is only this one. If you select this one and that one, it is both. If you select neither, it is all. If you only want to do these are generally only the agricultural aviation missions. So there you go. Really simple and straightforward. Aircraft models, the same. This is also possibly useful if you're considering a business. You might be considering a cargo transport medium business. In which case, if you make that selection and then you go to aircraft model, it will tell you the model of aircraft that it generally expects that you would need to complete these missions. And it really is either just the Cessna Grand Caravan or the Pilatus. In the base game, I have the base game. So that's fine. You can have a look at that. If in particular you want to practice solely with the Grand Caravan, all you need to do is tick it. And then you can have a look at the Grand Caravan missions and say, I just want to practice flying the Grand Caravan. I'd like to see if I want to buy that plane. It's a $4.5 million plane. So I'll give it a try. You may as well get paid for giving it a try. Give it a try, and if you like it, you might buy it, and if you hate it, you might decide you're not going to buy it. That's a fair way to do it. So you can do that as well. You can make those selections and various other bits and pieces. This is all pretty straightforward stuff. I'm sure you have figured it out. But there are other things going on here in this mission screen. So let's talk about the difference between employee and freelancer. When you select over on R1 to freelancer, it will show you only those missions you can complete with the companies that you currently own and the aircraft that you currently own. So although I have an agricultural spraying business, for example, I don't actually own a plane. So when I switch over to freelancer, it's not going to show me those missions because the game knows I don't have a plane, can't complete it. So this is very limited, which is important because if you have a look at the VIP missions, let's declutter the screen a little bit by just look at the private charter VIP and private charter service. You'll see that there's a lot of VIP missions available under both of those headings. That's a lot of jobs. I could spend a bit of time doing that. I could be flying a Skyhawk over here. I could be flying this over there. But if I go over to freelancer, where'd they all go? Well, the reason that they have all gone away is because I don't have the requisite plane to be able to do those other missions. So these missions up here, for example, this is a Pilatus. I don't have a Pilatus. I've got a Cirrus Vision jet. So what the game will do is it will only pick those missions where you have the appropriate plane to do it. So although I have a VIP business, I need a better plane to do some of these other missions. So do be aware of that. Do be aware of that when you are looking at the difference between employee and freelancer missions. And if you open the mission filters, you will see that some of these missions are paying out or promising to pay out reasonable amounts of money, which is pretty good. Of course, you won't get all that money, and we've discussed that before, but you will get some of that money, which is perfectly fine. Now then, that's all pretty straightforward stuff, and you're going, oh, I know all this, LJ. What the heck are you going on about? Well, what about something that maybe you don't know? Which is that there are different kinds of mission instrumentation criteria that you may find useful. So we'll try and look at this one. This one's pretty good. This is a ferry flight, and you'll see that we're taking off at LFAW and we are arriving at EDRP. And you'll see over in the far right that there's two things, which is the VFR and the MVFR. Now, the game touches on this, but doesn't explain it in full detail. And it's something you will want to know if you're getting into things like flying with autopilots and programming your autopilots and various other bits and pieces like that. VFR is visual flight rules, which means good visibility, relatively easy to take off, maybe even a simple plane, and it may actually be that the plane is only an analog plane and doesn't actually have instruments that you can use. For example, the air tractor. So the air tractor is always going to be VFR because the air tractor doesn't have a digital system in it. It's a fairly basic piece of kit, hence the name air tractor. So it relies on visual flying rules. So you just need to know what you're doing. You need to be able to read your analog equipment, and you need to be able to fly using the analog equipment. It's a VFR flight. If you're using the Corvallis, however, the Corvallis might be slightly different. And MVFR means marginal visual flight rules. That means that it might be a little bit sketchy when you get to EDRP. Visibility might be reduced. You might be able to get there fairly fine, that's probably not a problem, but understanding instrumentation flight rules might be useful to you because you might be doing a low approach through cloud, etc, etc, etc. So that's what marginal flight rules mean. Now, there are some other ones here, so let's have a look at this one. This one has IFR and LIFR. So what IFR means is instrument flight rules, which you will know if you covered the instrument flight rules training, certification, etc, etc. That means that the visibility is reduced bad enough that you will need to have a basic grasp of how to fly using your instruments. You cannot rely on visual markers at all for at least some parts of the flight. So that might prove handy if you want to get used to programming your autopilot or just getting used to flying using your instruments. LIFR is low instrument flight rules, which basically means that this is the worst case. So this is cloud, storms, rain, whatever, all the way down to practically ground level. Probably not quite as bad as that, but it is going to be bad. So LIFR is going to be the most challenging for you. Certainly in this case, it's about taking off in LIFR and then transitioning to IFR. It could be both LIFR or it could be just LIFR on landing. So do be aware of that. It's VFR, MVFR, IFR, LIFR. Okay? Now, there are some other versions here which you will occasionally run across from time to time, and we saw some of them earlier, which is this: refer to briefing. So we won't pick the de Havilland because I know that the de Havilland does not have digital stuff. There is, or there should be some others. Here we go. The Corvallis, right? You have to open it up, you have to have a look at it, and you have to go, all right, I see. I don't know why this one in particular. It's a VFR to MVFR situation. So I don't know why in particular it feels the need to say refer to briefing, but that's fine. And you can use the square button and it will take you to the more detailed briefing. I say more detailed briefing, it doesn't actually tell you much. So just one person. Okay, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Don't see any dramas. No dramas. That is just the way that it is. So there you go. There's a lot of detail in here when you get stuck into it. Now, you may want to be looking at some stuff, not by pressing that. And by stuff, what I mean is you might be looking at this and saying, okay, so I'm traveling from EDFD to EYMM. Where is EYMM? It's somewhere out there, right? I can't quite see it. There's two ways you can go and check where this mission, which is EYMM, is. You can try and pick it out from the map, and it's over here somewhere, and you can wait for the map to resolve, and you can say, well, I think it was somewhere out here, EYMM. I'm not desperately sure. Or you can use the search function, and you can go up to the top, and you can literally type in EYMM, and it doesn't seem to be case sensitive, And if you hit X again, it'll tell you it's in Sasnova. And you go, okay, it's in Sasnova, that's good. Let's have a look, because it wants me to land my plane on here using visual flight rules in the snow. Ooh, this looks like a dicey, short, very snowy runway. I'm not sure about that. So now that you know what you're looking at to EYMM, you think to yourself, well, I'm not really sure. So you're going to go back and have a look for your mission, and you find that your mission has somehow disappeared. So the EYMM mission you were looking for has now gone. I found that a lot. I don't know the I'd like to tell you I have an answer for that, and my answer for that is, honestly, I don't have an answer for that. This is more of a warning. I don't know how to stop that from happening. I've done this more than once with multiple missions. I think to myself, well, I don't really know. I'm not really sure. I would like to see that airport before I fly to it. And when you select the airport and have a look, that whole mission disappears. So if anyone does have an answer to that, and anyone knows what that answer is, I'd love to hear it, because I don't really fully understand why this happens, and it's happened to me on considerably more than one occasion. So do be aware of that. That can be a little bit of problem, especially if, you know, similar to what I said in missions number 1, you're taking a plane, and it might be a de Havilland, or it might be a Pilatus, or it might be what else? It might be a what is it? A Beechcraft Kingy. You can never find one when you need one. It might be a Textra Cessna Citation jet. You know, and you're like, well, where is that airport? Well, it's over there. It's somewhere in Egypt. You go, well, I don't know what that airport's like in Egypt. Is that Egypt International? What is it? And then you go and you have a look, and the mission's gone again. And you're like, well, where did that mission go? So missions drifting in and missions drifting out seems to be a bit of an issue, and I don't really know what the answer to that is. Oh, there it is. It's back again. So it's gone again. So I don't know what that issue is, and it seems to be it doesn't matter how much you zoom in and zoom out. Missions can drift in and missions can drift out. Do be aware of that. I don't have an answer. I think maybe it might be appropriate to say the best way to do that is declutter the map, and you go and say, well, that's okay. I'm just going to look at these from now on. And you say, well, there you are. There's the citation one, and there's this one. So you might find that decluttering your map helps you see things a little easier and stop some of these mission disappearances happening. I don't fully understand why they do that. It is a bit of a mystery. Now, the other thing is, and we kind of saw it a little bit here, this is outside my area, so it's probably likely to be a little bit of a problem. But let's say we wanted to, rather than think about flying a mission, we wanted to fly out of a particular airport. So right. Let's say we wanted to fly out of Brussels Airport, for example. Let's have a look. What airports are available in Brussels that we could fly out of? There is Brussels National. I think that's probably the one we're looking at. Yes, there we are. Now, we see Brussels National. We have here fast travel. That's just to get my person there. And we have the missions list. If we click... It does this every time. Every time I switch to the missions list, it takes me to a different airport. And I have no idea why. It is really rather annoying. So let us go back. Brussels was where we were going, my old chum. And now it's taken it completely away. So, yes, Brussels National Airport. Thank you. And the missions list for Brussels National Airport. Crispy Cedars is turned up in the top corner again. I have no idea why. I don't want to go to Crispy Cedars. I want to have a look at the missions that are coming out of Brussels National Airport on the missions list. There we go. So, now then, after far-arsing around with a buggy missions map, you have this. There's a lot of actual missions flying out of here. They're all a particular kind of mission. Oh, here we go. There's some private charter missions. I haven't selected any specializations. So there are actually more missions hidden inside the mission map than you ever see. Just so that we're aware. So a lot of these are airline jobs, which are fine. It's the size of the airport that I've picked, right? So these are all Airbus A320s. There's some private charter work, which is Textron Beechcrafts and various other bits and pieces. But you know, this is a national airport. You're not going to get skydiving above Brussels. So there's plenty more missions in here than the game ever lets you on that are there. Now, let's see if we can pick a smaller airport out in the middle of relatively nowhere. So what is the name of this place? Does this place even have an airport designation? I would like to see what the airport designation is. It's listed as airport. I believe it might just be listed as a runway. It's not even showing up as a runway. So this is... very interesting. EBGG is where we're departing from. So if we go up here and we have a look at EBGG, that is what we've got here. This is over Boulaire Airport, and we dare ourselves by trying the missions list. So there you go, actually. If you have a look at the missions list, I didn't ask you to do that. If you can handle this crazy map, which is driving me just insane, you can have a look at the missions list. It won't let me select any other missions. I'm now frozen. I would very much like to see what missions there are. Ah, there you go. After you fiddle around for a bit, you might find that there's more missions even coming out of these simple runways. So anyway, if you can endure some of the pain, and you can see here that this has got IFR, LIFR, IFR, LIFR, and that's VFR. So these are still instrument rated flights that you can still take. You can do whatever you want to do with, which is great. These are things that you can use to test yourself. So there you go. That is the state of the missions boards. They're not necessarily as simple as you might like, and if you want to refresh them, sometimes you have to close them and open them. I would say on probably the amount of crashes that I have had, i.e. crash out to blue screen, accept and report that there's a bug, has been on the missions map. I think one of the things that you might have to remember on the missions map is when you have it set to employee, there's an awful lot of these things turn up. And you might want to turn those specializations down. And zooming in and zooming out and selecting missions and looking at missions and trying to find airports. Anytime you're trying to interact with this whole map, it can cause the game to crash. So there you go. There's a lot in there. There's a lot of missions in there. I hope this has given you an indication of some of the ways you can actually drive this map. Certainly it's a bit buggy and it gives me a headache, and I'm sure there's possibly some user error in there. in how it does things or does not do things, but I'm also firmly convinced that there's a little bit of design issue in terms of how it actually shows up on the console and how using the controller to drive around it on the console. I would not try and drive around this with my HOTAS. If I were you, I would stick to using my controller, but that's up to you. Anyway, I hope you have found this video useful. If you have, hit that like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions about anything you have seen here today, please let me know. If you have any tips, tricks, or resolutions of your own, specifically to missions that vanish, do let me know. And I will see you all for another one real soon. Ta-ta for now.